I like to think I'm growing and changing for the better, but I also like to think I was never really that bad to begin with. Hello, friend, and welcome back to my studio. Today, I'd like to share the story behind my most recent painting, what the moment looked like in the day, and why I took the picture. I find a lot of comfort in the beautiful, regular life around me, and that's why I'm sharing it. I think this world could use a few more comfortable stories. As I tell the story, I'll also be finishing this piece, filling in the chunky knit blanket and the cat and the couch, then signing it. If you're interested in my work, sign up for my newsletter to learn about my next collection release. The link is in the description. Now back to the story. The day was September 18th. Like the days and weeks before it, I woke up far too early from my gentle chiming alarm. Monday morning. No one's ever really ready for a Monday morning, but they come as reliably as all the others. My weekend had disappeared without a trace, and I got out of bed the moment I turned the alarm off. I've learned the hard way that the more time I spend between the alarm and the sheets, the less likely I am to get out of it. Routinely, I dressed in my men's white painted work pants, then checked the weather. Forecast was warm and sunny. It would be an outdoor job today. I put on my lightest t-shirt, a gray My Chemical Romance tee that used to be my husband's. Over at the vanity, I turned the yellow sunflower printed light on, and I pulled my long hair back into a tight bun, a little lower than usual, so I could wear a hat if it was too bright. On went the hoodie I cut the hood out of that reads, "This girl is not throwing away her shot," and then it was over to the kitchen to make my peanut butter jelly sandwich for lunch, and then shovel down as many spoonfuls of cereal as I had time for. My fluid motions between butter knife, bowl, milk, cup, Keurig, and creamer were as efficient as they could be. Then, running about 2 minutes late, I grabbed my keys, kissed my cat's forehead, and went out the door. These days, my car drove pretty smooth. It started making a dry chugging sound every time I went to neutral, but no lights were on. My door was a problem though. I could only open it a few inches before it jerked off its axis and refused to close right. I made a habit of sliding my body through the crack as nimbly as I could and closing it firmly behind me. It was a warm enough day that I didn't have to scrape my windshield, but there was some condensation buildup on the inside of the glass, so I dug in the passenger seat for my thermal sweatshirt and used that as a cloth to wipe it down, while also slowly pulling out of my cul-de-sac. I braked hard when a car passed way too close for comfort because I was rolling further into the road than I thought. But with no other cars around, I was on my way, accelerating and braking for speed bumps. I had it down to a science just how fast I could go over those bumps without damage. Still, it wasn't until I hit the freeway and got my car going fast that the air got warm enough to finish clearing my windshield. Once I was on the freeway, I noticed my door wasn't closed quite right. The wind was too loud. Still, I just listened to the empty morning air, noticing the idiots in traffic around me and trying not to be too close to them. It really was a bright day. The sunrise was already blazing orange across the sky. There were a few beaming rays of sun reaching through the morning mist before I pulled into my work lot. Everything there was typical too, sitting around and sipping coffee while everyone trickled in, then getting each team assigned to their project for the day. My partner and I were going to be starting the exterior of a Rambler about 40 minutes north. A good week. I had only been working this painting job a few months, but even I knew a favorite assignment when I heard it. A Rambler means less time on extension ladders, and that drive was just long enough to pad the 8-hour workday with. The drive there was smooth, but we took a wrong turn at the end. My boss had a habit of describing how to get there in place of giving you an address, and we were both confused which turnoff he meant. But it was an easy fix, and pulling up to the house, the first thing I noticed was the luscious garden. There was green of every kind. The house was green, the grass was green, the moss in the driveway, the potted plants, and the front door, all green. It looked brilliant in the sunlight, which was now out in full blazing force. I got to prepping, grabbing the 2-inch orange tape, a paper masker, and a medium ladder. As I worked my way around the house, I got to a small section where one slanted roof met the slant of another. I had to shove paper as far back as I could to prevent overspray, but first I checked that there were no birds' nests or anything like that in the way. What I found was a shock. I found a small, round, grumpy-looking frog. He was not very cooperative and resisted my gentle pulling with all 4 of his sticky feet. But once I had him out of his nook, he seemed more content. I took a picture of him to send to my husband. Then I found a good-looking plant to put him on. I was still thinking about the frog when the woman who owned the house asked me to make sure there's not a frog up in that roof nook before we paint. She had found him there the other day and just wanted to be sure he was taken care of. The workday passed pretty quickly, and it was just long enough to get all of the prepping done before we had to turn key and leave. Right before we left, I took a few pictures of the most colorful plants. Then I hopped into the passenger seat and we went on our way. I tend to be pretty quiet when I'm socially unsure, and in this company of strange men, I was always socially unsure. Still, I was more talkative at the end of the day than in the morning, and we got a good conversation going. All in all, a good Monday. My husband liked the frog picture that I sent, and he offered up a few good frog names. By the time we pulled into the lot, I was seriously thinking about what I would do for the rest of my day. These were the days of setting up our new house. We had moved in 2 months earlier, and everything was unpacked, but I was still swimming in furniture building projects that were way over my head. My ability to dream it up is a lot stronger than my ability to do the proper math for it all. Right then, I was checking the trigonometry work I'd done over the weekend and considering working on that further, but after I got home, all desire to be productive left my body. God, I was tired. It was an easy enough day at work, but emotionally, I was a wreck. I cried near nightly about the state of our unfinished house and all the pressure I put on myself with these projects. We didn't have a dinner table yet, and each day that we ate on the one lamp table in the living room made me feel worse about it. I had therapy every Monday at 5, so without having time to fix a snack, I sat on the couch and pulled up Zoom. My therapist was the best therapist I'd worked with, but I hated every session. I always felt like she just wasn't getting the whole picture, but I attended every week anyway. We were currently working on how not to bring stress home from work, and I felt like I couldn't connect to the topic at all because I didn't have work stress that particular day. I was still working on resetting my systems of patience and emotional endurance after my wedding. For my wedding, every time I was faced with far too expensive of choices, I decided to make my own cake stand and be my own DJ. My wedding turned out literally perfect, but I certainly had some built-up stress habits that needed work to get rid of. So, filled with a dislike for my therapy and also washed with the stress of setting my house up faster than I was doing it, I ended the session and looked to the ceiling. 1 breath, then 2. Then I opened my eyes again and looked around for my cat. I was sitting on the couch when I looked to my right and saw her asleep on her new favorite blanket. I also saw the small sliver of sunlight that shines through every evening just before sunset. It's one of 3 sunbeams that make it through our windows and into the house, and I'm always delighted to see it. The sun streaming across the carpet inspired me to pull out my phone camera to take a picture. I took an up-close shot of my cat's little pink nose tucked into the chunky knit cotton. Then I took a wide angle of the surrounding scene. From painting the image, I see more in it than I did initially. I also see the reflection of blue coming from the sliding glass doors and bouncing off the white tile floor. I see the golden light that wraps around one of the wooden posts and obscures its silhouette. I see that the yellow of the scratchy rope-wrapped board matches the yellow of the sunlit wall near the cat shelves. I can make out the several colors reflected off the bottom of one supposedly white shelf. I notice the open envelope and Hershey's wrapper laying on the floor near me, and my ever-present water bottle open and ready for use. From this position, I can barely make out my cat's water bowl, and the aqua of it shines around the corner. There, too, is a blue from the foam roller we have mounted on the wall, one of the first things we hung up, and one of the most used objects in the house. Mounted to the corner and the wall behind it are 2 scratchers for the cat, one unused and the other, the corner one, filled with catnip, used devoutly. Sitting in the sunlight is a lone catnip mouse, tag still on, waiting to be noticed anew. Across the fake white tile in the corners, the original yellow laminate peeps through. And in the center of the frame, but at the back of the room, sits one of my furniture project pieces. It's my sculptural rendition of a chair, and now it sits mounted to the wall with the painted green brackets that were sitting on its seat in the picture. Somehow, the orange of this log combines with the light in the environment in a way that casts a purplish shadow on the tile. This wood piece is part of an old tree I split in 2 to make the chair and a table with. The table, the sister piece of wood, was one of my many griefs at this time. But in this moment in time, I'm glad I don't have everything set up yet, because look how the open space breathes color. In the shot, there's a faint glow of a mystery object out of frame. It's one of those mushroom nightlights that you can find anywhere online. There's also a faint trace of the pillow that came with the couch, but mixes an ugly brown with navy blue, so I turn it face backwards. Behind Skylar, the cat, there's the stone vase that I made for my wedding, and a large sea salt and orange candle my friend made me for my wedding. The last items I can make out are the record player, always open and ready for use, and a piece of wall art I got my husband when we were dating. It's a clear plastic with an album artwork and details for the song Can We Kiss Forever by Kina. All of these little details make my home. I look back on this time wishing I could have seen how much my space was already my own, and putting less pressure on being fully established in as quick a time frame as possible. I just didn't know how quickly other people set up their homes. That's not the kind of thing I usually see. Now, as I sit on the same couch with the same sleeping cat near me, the area looks remarkably the same. Still sitting together are the candle and the vase, now with accompanying grip strengtheners and a cat collar with an air tag. Between the posts on the other side is a pile of mail, my glasses, an air pump, and an Amazon Alexa glowing red because in theory it's on mute. The record player and table have switched corners, but the water bowl is still in the same spot. Now I have both of those project tables finished and up, filling the empty tile. We only have 2 dining chairs, but we had company recently, so there are also 2 stools sitting around the glass tabletop. Both of my project pieces turned out pretty okay. I put a lot of work in, but lost patience right at the end when it came to the assembly, so there's some questionable workmanship if you look up close. Still, we eat on the table daily, and our cat loves her box under it. Not much has changed, and at the same time, all of it has. But that's kind of how life goes, moment to moment. Nothing is really all that different, but after a while, you notice that you are. I like to think I'm growing and changing for the better, but I also like to think I was never really that bad. Just like this room. In the end, it's the smallest moments that matter the most. That's all for this one. I'll see you next time, friend. Bye. If you'd like to hear the story of another small moment that mattered, check out this video, and if you'd like to support my work, please like and subscribe. Thank you.